All right, we need to talk a little bit about rotation again. And the reason we need to talk about rotation is because there's one individual that keeps making comments, 40 some comments, basically calling me a liar and trying to say that I'm wrong about rotation. Let's all meet Terry. This is the individual making comment after comment, essentially calling me a liar. As you can see here, he calls me a liar, but he says, this is such false BS. If you spin the ball dead sideways, it slides a lot more than if you get behind it. You show it right here. And then he says, anyways, please stop lying. My sport only has a couple years left. No, it doesn't. I'd like to enjoy them and get my tour card. I'm going to leave that one alone. But let's be honest. If you think you can make a ball hook sooner by rotating it more, I wouldn't get my card. But let's talk about it for a minute, since I'm clearly a liar, I guess. Rotation is the amount that you spin the ball sideways. What he's probably referring to is tilt, which is what determines how much of the circumference is actually touching or impacting the lane. When your tilt is higher, like spinning on a top where it's just touching a little pinpoint, let's just say you have 90 degrees of tilt, which means it's facing straight up and your ball is only spinning on one teeny tiny little bit of the ball. It's not going to hook. It's not going to hook at all. If you find a way to throw it down there spinning at 90 degrees like that, yeah, it's never going to see friction. It can't. But now if you start and you actually bring that tilt down and now the ball is touching more surface or the lane surface is touching more circumference of the ball, now you can create more traction. But that traction with rotation only comes if there's friction. And that friction, again, only comes from the surface of the bowling ball and the lane. And then what's stopping friction is the oil that's on the lane. So that little bit of oil that's in between your bowling ball and the lane is what's causing your ball to skid down the lane. If we take away that oil in the first 10 feet of the lane, Terry there seems to think if you rotate the ball more, it's going to skid through the front part of the lane and get to the oil and get past all that friction before it starts to turn left. Now let's use cars for example. Let's use the tires on a car and say we're driving on an icy road and we start skidding. And we turn our tires to face the left because we're trying to turn, but we keep skidding straight. When you encounter friction or dry pavement, which direction is your car finally going to go once it hits the dry pavement? Right, it's going to go the direction that your tires are facing. If your tires are facing forward, your ball is going to continue traveling forward once it hits friction. If your ball is spinning sideways, it's going to go that direction as soon as it sees friction. If there's friction in the front part of the lane, more rotation is going to respond to that friction faster. It's not going to make it skid through it. This has been a huge misconception for years in this industry. Everybody seemingly, for some stupid reason, keeps saying, I need to spin it more. I got to get it further down lane. Well, I'm sorry, but spinning it does not get it further down lane. All that does is change the direction that the ball is going to travel once it encounters friction. The only thing that is going to help your ball skid more is less friction. The only thing that's going to make your ball hook sooner is more friction, which means higher grits or lower grits, whichever way you look at it. You want your tires to have traction in snow and ice? You put chains on your tires. You want your ball to start hooking sooner? You hit it with 500 grit. You want your tires to skid further? Then you go to racing slicks. You get rid of the traction. You want your bowling ball to get further down the lane before it responds? You go to shiny. You shine the bowling ball, you clog the pores, you make the outer surface as smooth as possible. That's all polish does. It just fills the gaps of that ball that is porous. It makes it more slick, but can also make it more violent when it does hit the major portion of friction down lane. So it can make your ball reaction, your response time much quicker once it hits the down lane friction. There's a lot of stuff that goes into looking at ball motion front to back and left to right. You should be looking at it more front to back than left to right. You need to be looking at it front to back as in how much and how early you want friction. And then if you're going to look left to right, it's just about how much response time and how quick your bowling ball is going to be. And then you can put it all together to have an overall view of quick versus slow. That's for a later discussion. We're not quite ready for that one yet. But Terry, I really hope this clears things up, and I really hope you stop making ignorant comments on my page. Ugh.